just before we get started with this episode, everything that comes through that may be channeled, all the wisdom that's shared, take it how you feel with it, sit with it. One of the huge reasons I've asked Genevieve to be here today is because myself, through all that I've accomplished with the Imperfectly Perfect campaign, has been a deeply seated spiritual journey that I never knew was happening for me. So I wanted somebody to come onto the podcast and explain this journey, what it means. But again, we often see so much on social media by this person, that person, and every other person. What I always say is listen, take away the wisdom and sit with it. What's right for one person isn't always right for the other. So when you are listening to this podcast, when you are listening to guests, remember it's their journey, their imperfections. Take what you will from that and look at your own path and sit with some silence to gain clarity. It's all full circle in what we go through, what I have noticed. And one thing, anybody who listens to this show, I bring the best guests in the world onto the show to really reveal far more than any surface layer conversations and get to know them and what brought them to their path and ultimately their success in whatever that means to them. So I hope you enjoy this show. Make sure you follow, you subscribe, and you share to anybody that may need to hear this episode. So first and foremost, Genevieve, welcome to the Imperfectly Perfect podcast.
Thank you. And it is a blessing to be with you.
Well, it's a blessing to have you on. Like I told our audience before you came on, I've been prepping this. I watched you on, I would say, I'll give Alex a shout out, one of my favorite shows, Next Level Soul, and you just blew me away. Like one of the big things was the sincerity and just genuinity as a person. But when you started sharing about your younger years and how everything happened, but because this is predominantly about mental well-being and how you overcame it, before we start talking about your gifts, let's take it back to the young Genevieve and what you've experienced in your journey so far.
Sure. And you tell me how far to go, basically.
Oh, go
But
deep.
when I was 9 years old, I fell on my head, and that caused me to have epilepsy. And so I had epilepsy until I was age 21. I did not know at the time that if I would have just had some chiropractic treatments, then things would have been, fine again. But they didn't know that. So then I took medication and then I would have these grand mal seizures. Luckily, I wasn't someone who had them like some people do, where they're having them continually. I had them maybe once every 3 to 6 months, something like that. And it it was interesting because I was always feeling like I had to be the tough person, like, don't worry, I'm fine. And I never actually went into my emotions with that at all. I was just because when I saw my parents so sad and my brothers, then I didn't want them to be sad. So I didn't share my vulnerability. And and also the background with my family is they didn't really share vulnerability in
Right.
that sense, like emotions. So I didn't. And it was it was just something that I realized, well, you just gotta do, make do. And when I went to university, I still didn't have a driver's license because I couldn't get one. So I would take this bus ride all the way. I would an hour and a half each way. It was really tough during that experience.
Mm,
And then I went through the experience of my brother at age 18, suddenly having schizophrenia, and he would be pacing around the house and then he just started imagining things and so forth, and he had that all his life and he passed on. So that was really not an enjoyable experience because he was such a sweet person. He couldn't even swear. I mean, pretty amazing, he was just like this gentle giant. And um watching him, it was like he died and someone else came. We lost him and someone else came,
wow.
and now it's this other person.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult. Now, when he passed on, he did come and visit me through a medium. And when he came, he shared that I have these healing abilities and that I'm to get into this. And I'm heating up as I'm talking about it. I am in menopause, so when I get into these emotions, then suddenly I heat up. But I do also feel lots of energy coming through, and so he really wanted me to get into this avenue, and so that's what led me on this whole route of understanding spirituality more, getting into that more, and so forth. And so I went down that route. But and then I also went through partners who had anxiety, depression, PTSD. So I went through a whole learning curve with that. And because all my life I never experienced that myself.
Mm.
I didn't even know what depression was. In fact, I thought, the typical feeling when you're in your 20s, you think, well, just get over it, right? Just get over it. And so I went through that. And then in my, when I was 50, I suddenly was stressed out and I had a breakdown and I started hyperventilating. And I had a background in environmental health and safety. And so I knew that I need to see the doctor. So I went to the doctor that day and I said, I hyperventilated. And then and I said, I don't want to take medication. I want to go through the therapist route. So we did. We went through the therapist route. He assigned two therapists at the same time for me, which is great.
Mm.
And we went through 2 months, I think it was, of therapy. And through that, I knew that I actually wanted to quit my job because I was in the corporate world and I had a high kind of job. I had to make sure that everyone's safe, 1,000 people. I had to oversee the managers in safety, making sure that they're doing their thing and training everyone. And it was just, and there's 3 shifts, and it was automotive manufacturing, three
Yeah.
facilities. It was very, very high stress
Because you're taking
position.
on everyone's energy from that, I suppose, as well. So when's the
Yeah.
downtime for you? And I think that's the problem this day, isn't it, with the corporate world and corporate well-being. There's so much burnout because those kind of people like yourself, and I've been through similar things, you're taking everything on and you're giving yourself no rest. Is that what you found the buildup was for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I was just constantly having to work, and then there are times when you have to work even longer hours
Mm.
and they just say, take it for the team kind of thing. And so I did. And I was actually really good at my job,
Mm.
which they kind of took advantage of.
Yeah.
So I never really got the help that I needed. And when I was gone, they felt it. They needed more help than just one person.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. So when I had that experience of the breakdown, I suddenly experienced suicidal thoughts. And what I discovered too was those thoughts don't come from me. These suicidal thoughts were telling me what to do, like that, just go do this, and go do this. And it helped me to understand and appreciate what other people go through.
Mm.
And so I started sharing openly with some friends, and lo and behold, they had experienced those things. And so they felt good that I was sharing it because they were able to let that out inside of themselves. And for me to share with them, look, like it's not you who's you're not trying to do anything bad to yourself. You're just trying to get better.
Yeah.
And so they felt loved through that. And it was just, it was, I would say like it was a humbling experience to feel that. It was terrible to go through that.
Yeah.
And I also experienced anxiety because the hyperventilation caused the anxiety feeling and it caused this feeling in my lungs. And so it took about 2 years for this anxious feeling to leave my lungs. So the moment I would have a moment of like I could feel myself rising to feeling upset about something, then
Mm.
I could feel it all in my lungs, you know?
Yeah.
It like it's there. And I don't know what it's like for people to have bronchitis. I mean, I did have it one time, but it's not the same, but it's kind of there's a similar thing there in the lungs. And so I went through this whole
Journey.
crazy journey. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's that anxiety though. I'd never experienced it, and it was only probably several months ago, and I felt like I was being a hypochondriac because I'd not experienced it, and I took myself to the ER. And they was like, "There's nothing wrong with you." They did ECG, they did everything, and they was like, "Have you ever dealt with anxiety?" I was like, "No." But I suppose it's like we're shown these, as the saying often goes, you can only help people as deep as you've gone in certain areas. So I just wanted to take it back a moment towards your brother when you dealt with the schizophrenia. I know you was young at that age, but for anybody out there that has got a member of the family or someone close dealing with that, how do you manage as a unit from your personal experience? Because I think a lot of people need help with that area and they don't always know where to turn to. And internally, they're stressing themselves, they're dealing, their parents, you're a sibling. How did you guys do that?
Well, we were actually blessed in a strange way because when my brother he had it, he suddenly decided he was maybe, I don't know, 20 or 21, or I can't remember what age he was, but he there was a cop car
Hmm.
and he decided to deflate the tire from the the car.
Okay.
And so yeah, so he goes there and he's deflating it and they're looking at him like, what are you doing?
Yep.
You know? And so anyway, he ended up in jail
Right.
and he ended up having the hearing. He was in jail for a month and he had the hearing, and it wasn't just for the deflating car. He did one other thing that was really stupid. He said he went to a bank, which I just remembered. He went to a bank and he said, "Give me all your money." And then he stood there and he's like, "When are they coming?"
Yeah.
So it was his way of just trying to get help because, like I said, the guy couldn't even swear. He was the sweetest man ever.
Yeah.
Like he didn't want any money. He just wanted help.
Yeah.
And so he's just waiting for them to come. He's like,
Right.
when are they coming? When are they coming? And so that's when they put him in jail for a month. And then the judge said, "You're obviously not well. And we're going to assign to you." And so we lived in Hamilton, Ontario at the time. And that place was the place where they had a program for schizophrenia.
Mm.
And I mean, this was a long time ago. I would have been 13 years old.
Right.
Well, when he was 18.
Yep.
No, yeah, no, when he was 19, I was 13. So basically, I was 6 years younger.
Mm.
And so he assigned him a social worker, a psychiatrist. He made him go to the events there at the program for schizophrenia. And then my mom went and she went to join like a group for, family members of schizophrenia. And so she got to understand things because they taught her certain behaviors that people will have. Like my brother liked to hug a lot, and he seemed to be a little too needy of that to my mom.
Mm.
And so my mom had to learn how to kind of like, okay, no,
So,
to be okay to say no, to kind of teach him to be able to make it on his own. And then through that, they put him in a kind of like a halfway house where they teach you how to live on your own and all that kind of stuff before then you can go on your own. And then which helped him to be independent and have other fellow people who were also going through something.
mm.
And they all had mental health issues. And so it really helped him. And he ended up actually becoming like a kind of like a spokesperson for people
Oh, wow.
with schizophrenia, yeah. And he was into art and he taught children how to do art in the art museum for children and stuff like that. So he really did quite well considering he could never work,
Mm.
but he was always involved in going to this program and doing speeches. And so family members got involved in that way. And it was primarily my mom that was involved because at that age, I moved across the country
Mm.
when I was in my 20s and when I was 24 to Vancouver. And so I didn't really see him for 5.5 years while I was there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Big journey, but interesting because, as I say, there's a lot of people who listen to the show who deal with a lot of the same issues. And as a family unit, it's always one of those things that if people don't talk outside that family unit, people don't know from other experiences. And that's why I love storytelling. Like you said with your friends, when you shared your experience, it almost like takes that weight off other people's shoulders and go, oh my God, somebody gets me. So I think that's so important. And then with yourself moving forward, it's you've gone in this huge career of corporate to burnout and then into now like channeling and your gifts. And how did you learn? Because this is what I love about when I talk about spiritual evolution and how people go. Because what a lot of people do these days is obviously go to social media. Now, there's everybody who's saying something on social media, and you're not knowing how to discern if you haven't gone through a lot of experiences, I believe, anyway. And I'm on my journey, so I'm always, but there's something that always draws me to certain people with that pure kind of resonance with it. How did your, I suppose, evolution even start into this world?
It actually started on my own. Um, so I'll kind of go a little bit out there. It started it started when I was 15 and I actually had a visitation from Mother Mary. Now, I was just an ordinary kid. I didn't actually know much about the Bible, and we were brought up spiritual, not in any kind of religious setting. So she came into my room and I felt her presence. I saw her in my inner eye
Mhm.
and with the veil or whatever you call that thing.
Yep, yep.
And the habit, or kind of like a nun in a way, but without the white, without the nun white thing here. So she came and I went to my knees and she gave me some kind of initiation. And I was just in gratitude in that moment. And then she shortly left afterwards. And then I just went on my day and went to school, never told anyone. And then when I was 18, I had an experience where I went into the light when I was sleeping. So I left my body. There was a dream where this kind of guru came up to me and says, "It is time." So we sat down in meditation and I left my body and went into the light. And I experienced immense love, the vibration, the sound, the the brightness, the warmth, and that there's a vast amount of intelligence in this field. That when you can, as soon as you think, the answer's there. And then after that, I went into the corporate world and I went into environmental consulting in Vancouver. I did that first. And then I started to have some dreams where I started to have these visitations. And I have a feeling that happened in my 30s. So I think the order that it happened in was um, my brother had that mediumship reading, and he also came for a Reiki session when I received Reiki. So he came and this woman mentioned him and she said, he's here. And then what happened was I decided, oh, I just want to learn some things. So I bought some books and then I started reading different methods of doing things. So one of them was like using a pendulum, another one was doing automatic writing. And so I just thought, oh, let's just give it a try. And so I did, and they both worked. And when I did the automatic writing, the first being that came to me was Kuan Yin, and she is well known in Asia. Kind of, she's the female goddess of compassion and mercy, and she's kind of like the female Buddha in a way. And she came to me and she just shared these messages. And so shortly after that, I just started, oh, okay, let's give it a try. Let's keep going. And next thing you know, I get different ascended masters sending me messages. And and so I just thought, okay. And then one day I decided I was in my later 30s that, and I was terrified that I would have a meetup group out of my house. and I used meetup.com, and these people would come to my house, and I had this message beforehand. So I like did this automatic writing with this Ascended Master teaching. And then I shared it with them. I shared the teaching. And from there, I took them into meditation. But what I didn't know was that I was actually channeling the meditation. And because I didn't even know what channeling was at that time. And I was being shown what to say, what to do. And then there was this energy coming through, and they would experience like this, wow, like that was an incredible experience that they had. And so there were, I didn't know at the time that they're experiencing some kind of energy healing. And I also learned Reiki and got into teaching people Reiki and so forth. So my journey continued in this way. And it slowly happened that I just kept getting one teaching after another of different ascended masters. And then it started coming archangels. And then a leprechaun, a fairy, little nature spirits.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, so it just kept coming.
So, with people where you're on your journey and you had visitations and people, I suppose, have different experiences and different gifts along this journey. How do you know? I mean, again, personally, how do you know what's your voice, what's your imagination? Because I can only attest to I've been through this journey and I've questioned myself. And when things have happened, I'm going, oh, yeah, but is that me or is that? And I know there's a lot of people out there. So, how did it work for yourself?
I've heard that question a billion times because like, people have said, how do I know I'm not making it up?
Mm,
So the best way for these ascended beings to communicate with you is through your thoughts.
mm,
It is the easiest way because you can then receive sentences
right.
rather than, you know, how people teach you, oh, like, so what visual do you get? Oh, I think I'm getting that. That would take so long for
Mm,
them to communicate with you. So the one thing that I do teach, and someone recently told me she actually taught her child this, and she can't believe the results her child is getting.
right.
And I wrote it in my book. I channeled it in my book. So it's not something that I knew myself,
Mm,
but it's a great thing. And the churches actually show it too. So I'll share it. It is that we have this area called the Sacred Heart portal. So it's between the throat and the center of the chest. And if you think about the line going across,
yeah.
right, and here, it meets right there. And so this sacred portal here, when you go into the feeling space, when you feel love, it activates this area. And when you go in there, that actually can pull you up into the divine mind, which is an area 30 centimeters above your head.
Mm,
And the divine mind is the place where you access divine information. You access guidance from your spirit, guidance from benevolent beings. And the thing about this is to understand that we have these energy centers, throughout our whole body, above and below. And as you go up progressively, the frequency gets exponentially higher for each level.
mm,
And we're so used to being in this level with our thoughts,
mm,
always in this. And the way I can say it is if when you're trying to do math in your mind and you're adding things up, that's where your focus is in this region. But instead, you place your focus simultaneously through your heart into the divine mind. What happens is you invite this much higher frequency to be in your aura. And this much higher frequency causes you to now receive divine information. And so when you're in that intention, you can't make things up.
mm,
So what happens is if you're in this region, you can make things up. But when you're in that intention, and so one thing that I recommend to people is give it a try. Write down what you receive. And when you do, don't look it up immediately on the internet.
yeah.
Instead, get enough information. Like, let's just say if someone is actually connecting to an ascend master and they're like, okay, who is to come? Who wants to teach me something? And so then you get this information, what color it is, what, and what their specialty is, what they
Mm.
like to focus on, how they like to help. And if you've never looked it up on the internet and you get all this information and
Yeah,
then you connect multiple times, and then when you realize I've got substantial information now I'm going to look it up, then you're going to say, wow, like I definitely didn't make this up.
yeah.
But if you look prematurely, then you're going to doubt yourself when you look it up because you didn't get enough information yourself. So you're just thinking, oh, well, maybe I made that up.
Is it like they're almost like I was telling you on a conversation the other day we had with voice notes? It's they can send you lessons and they can send you almost like serendipitous things. Like the other day when I was telling you at three different times, Michael Hutchins' Never Tear Us Apart in Excess came on at three different stages of the day. And I thought, hang on, this isn't a mainstream song. He's being passed. And I don't know if I updated you on the day after I turned Netflix on and a new documentary was on where it said new on Netflix in Excess, Michael Hutchins' Never Tear Us Apart. And I was like, there's clearly a message here. So, how do you, and I suppose it's one of those questions that you've probably heard a million times as well, but go from, well, how do you trust it? I think that's the biggest thing with us humans, isn't it? We know there's something else out there. We've got to know that we're divinely guided in certain aspects and things don't just happen like that. But how do we let go and we just trust it?
So what could go wrong if you do trust it?
Exactly. Nothing really.
Now, if suddenly you're being shown, okay, like you need to quit your job and you need to just give up everything and sell your house and all that kind of stuff, you need to make sure that you've got everything in place that you need in place to be able to do that,
Yeah.
right? Or if someone says, oh, or if you hear, oh, go off your medication. Well, you need to get the assistance
Mm.
of whoever you need assistance with. If it's a naturopathic person, if it's a doctor, whatever, you need to make sure you're making proper decisions. But if it's something like you need to get out into the world and share your gifts, um, that doesn't hurt you to do that.
Yeah.
That actually will make things even better for you. So the one thing that people do have is fear, and they're tied to it. It's in their cellular structure.
Yeah.
Joe Dispenza talks about it. It's this autonomic response system that we have, and we don't realize that living, we're controlled strongly with our fears.
Mhm.
And if we can overcome those, then some miracles can happen for us. But the one thing that I learned is that you can't overcome it. You can't overcome fears by thinking them to be overcome. It just doesn't work because your body's saying, no, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
So you need to access that cellular structure somehow for it to know that it's safe. And so part of the solution is also dealing with that part. Because if the person doesn't feel safe, if the body, and I don't say that the person in the mind, but the body, if it doesn't feel safe about, oh, get yourself out into the world from this message,
Yeah.
then you need to deal with that terror that the body feels.
Very true. It's that nervous system response, isn't it? It's like you can be telling yourself, and this is why on social media, some respects it's amazing, but the other aspects, people make things sound so simple. And there is a process to everything. Like as a child, we grow up, we learn to walk, we get down, we get back up again. And I think it's the same for the spiritual thing. Because I did mention to you, I was listening to a lot on my journey, and I was almost disappointed going, where's this whole shebang? Like, where's this whole, because this is what certain people talk about. And I just learned on mine. I used to go, people talk about spiritual awakening. Yep, tick, I've done that. Tick, that's happened. Tick, that's happened. But nothing. But then mine started coming through signs, synchronicities, put in front of the people. And as I'm sat here talking to you, I say it to every guest, but I normally say it afterwards. But because you do this kind of work, what I see is I can see your face, but I just see colors around you all the time. That's one of the things I do, and it kind of distracts me sometimes. when I just see the aura around people. And there was one time I was talking to a friend who actually does that automated writing. And it was the only time where we send voice notes like I did to yourself. And I said, can you turn the TV down? I said, it's so loud. And she came back on and she was like, I'm in a room on my own, there's no TV. And I was like, no, surely. And then I went back to listen to that message and there was no one there except her voice. And that's the only time it's happened. And then I think I went purely back into my head trying to make sense of it, and it never happened again. And I'm even saying to my guides, I'm like, come on, I'm ready now, but what will be will be. So, I mean, what advice have you got for anybody? Like with this podcast, anything, always seek professional help in terms of medication if that's what you need. But what we're talking about here is just your innate ability to just learn things about your journey. What would you say? In fact, what does being imperfectly perfect mean to you that you've learned through this journey?
So it means, feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
No.
Because like when I first started out in the corporate world and I had to be in a boardroom just with like 6 people, 10 people, my body was shaking. And like I didn't have like trauma growing up. So there's no logic to that. It,
Mm,
it had nothing to do with epilepsy. My parents were very loving people, had nothing to do with that. And at that point, I hadn't had relationships where, they're traumatizing me or anything like that. So I had good relationships. There was no rhyme or reason. And
mm,
it was in the cells. It was in from like ancestral stuff or past life stuff. So the thing is that we are imprisoned by our fear and we hold ourselves back because we believe what our body is telling us.
yeah.
Because we should believe it if we are in a situation where there is terror,
Mm,
but we shouldn't when there is no terror. The only reason why that is designed is to get you out of a dangerous situation if you're going to be harmed. That's the only time. So
yeah.
if you're feeling fear for any other reason, then you know that it's false fear.
Mm,
And so how can you overcome it? There's many different methods to overcoming fear. There's the Joe Dispenza method. There's somatic, there's people you do somatic work that helps a lot of people. There's various methods that people can utilize, but it's really important to be able to overcome that so
mm,
that you can then make those steps. And the other thing is, people want to be perfect. Let's just say if they want to get out into this spiritual world, or if you want to be this major podcaster or whatever, they want to be perfect because their body's saying, if you mess up, you're going to be in danger.
mm,
You're going to be killed. If you mess up, you're going to be killed. So that's the way the body is behaving.
yeah.
And so if you can think about it this way, you can tell yourself, look, body, I know you're tired. Like have a conversation with your body. I know you're sad, you're frustrated, you're fearful, you've got anxiety. I know all these things. What is it that you need from me so that I can go and do this and know that you're safe? Like, what is it that you need to know that you're safe? Right? Rather than just saying, oh, you're safe, don't be silly. That doesn't work. You really need to find out what does it need for it to feel safe. And like as an example, I had this fear of success
Mm,
because with fear of success, I'm going to get overwhelmed. I'm not going to be able to handle all the people coming my way, and I'm just going to be killed, from not being able to handle. And so my body said it's afraid of that. And
mm,
so I said, okay, so what's the solution? The solution is hire someone who knows how to hire people to get help so that I won't be overwhelmed.
yeah.
And then my body went, okay, that makes sense. And so it wasn't afraid of me moving forward with my business. But that was holding me back from moving forward with my business because I kept having this fear in my body. So it's primary importance because people don't realize I have so many people I communicate with, and you can see it. they're lost in their fear and they don't even realize that they are,
Yeah. I
you
think
know?
one big question I've got for you there, just before we move on, is how would you say from your personal experience again, is when we talk about fear, when we talk about fear of success or fear of failure or anything, as we see from social media, unfortunately, these days, and everything moving so fast, we're also seeing people that talk about fast success. Now, we know deep integrally that there's nothing 1% might get very lucky and something may happen, but we don't know the trauma behind that. We don't know what's happened. It might be their time. But from your experience, if people come to you for healing and help in terms of that way, how can you explain to people, or how do you explain to people that it's not linear and it does take time? It's not what we are believing on social media, and things don't just happen like, I mean, miracles can happen very quick, but at the same time, what have you noticed from that journey? Because you must have had a bit of fear, trepidation stepping out into the line of work you are now talking about this. So, fear of success to fear of opening up about your gifts.
Absolutely. And this fear that I had, like I said, I started in my late 30s having meetup groups out of my home, but I was afraid of quitting my job and doing it full time. So I told myself this typical excuse that, oh, I need to save money. And then finally, when I can, then I can quit and then I can get going. Or maybe I'll need to wait till retirement and so forth. And it was for me, unfortunately, it was the breakdown that caused me to not care anymore about I was very hard on myself, my stupid decisions to stay with the corporate world. So it was because when you break that much, you've got the suicidal thoughts, you've got the anxiety, and you've reached that limit, like never again.
Mm,
That's how I was. I was like, never again am I going to experience that again. And I am not going to put up with anything that is not going to allow me to expand. And so my poor husband at the time,
yeah.
if he would argue with me on something and try his ways of communicating, I just had no patience for it anymore. And so I let him know. And I would say, he would say, "Oh, I'm feeling like this. Are you making me feel?" And I say, "That's not my problem. That's your problem, right? Don't you take responsibility for your stuff." And he's like, the good thing about him is he studies psychology.
Yeah.
So he then went, and he couldn't deny it. And so he slowly worked on himself. Now, so that was the answer to one of your part question. Do you remember the rest of it?
Um, I don't know. I just let things flow all the time. I think it was around just it's not a linear process when it comes
Oh,
to, because
that's it.
I mean a quick win on everything.
Yeah. Okay. So uh, there's that part. Now, the other part is this, is that I happen to have been always a hard worker, so I'm not afraid of hard work. However, many people who want to, let's just say they want to have a new career, something totally different, and they're afraid.
Mhm.
And they want it to be easy because maybe they're not used to really hard work. They didn't have that type of job that required that. And so I've met many people who actually want to start a business who want it to be easy. And
So,
I mean, good on them for that.
yep.
But it doesn't happen like that necessarily. But the thing is this, is that you can have miracles, like you said.
Mm,
And when we have an ability to live life as a unawakened person, meaning that you don't feel connected to God in your own way, and you're just living life and just getting by, or you can live a life where you feel in tune with that. And what people don't know is what happens actually energetically.
mm,
So for instance, when you go into that sacred heart, into the divine mind, you raise your aura. The frequency is so high. You must ground, by the way, which I didn't mention, to the Earth Star chakra, which is 30 centimeters below your feet at the same time. Otherwise, you're going to get dizzy and you're going to get pins and needles all in your head and all that kind of stuff. So when you are in that realm and you are receiving guidance, you are receiving guidance not in a linear fashion.
mm.
So your mind thinks, okay, I'm going to create this business. I want this end goal. So naturally, the first step to take is this, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. And that's not how your higher self works. So your higher self sees the whole picture and can see how you can get to this goal
Yeah.
by completing the ninth thing first, and then the third thing, and then the first thing, and then the fourth thing, because it sees everything in a circle
Yeah.
rather than a pathway, because it sees everything as a oneness. And so when you can get this amazing guidance from your higher self to go do this first. And you haven't prepared your body
Yeah.
to go to jump to that level to do that thing right away. But that's where you have to dress the body. And then you need to do it anyway, feel the fear and do it anyway. And so what you're going to realize and you're going to encounter are one miracle after another happening for you when you don't follow the linear path and you listen to this higher guidance guide you to this circular pathway,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you do it because, and the more you do it, because at first it's going to be scary to do because your spirit always wants way more things than you do.
Mm.
It sees your potential. And so it will always ask you to do uncomfortable things. But the moment you learn to do uncomfortable things and then you realize, hey, that was okay.
Yeah.
And and then you experience, wow, like because I did that, suddenly this person reached out to me and this person reached out to me. Like I would never have thought of that happening before.
Yeah.
And then you start to trust and you go with that flow. So I'm now at that point in my life where that's how I operate. I do not think my way through things. I connect and receive the higher guidance. And like sometimes I've had to do last minute decisions and fly out and do something because I'm being shown to do that. And I trust it now.
Do you think though, that it's what we think is our purpose or the way that we're being directed? Because I can only speak on my personal experience. Like everything blew up really fast, and then I kind of got in my head because everyone was like, is it this? Is it that? Like everyone was trying to put a title or a label on it. And I'm like, can we not appreciate what it's doing in the moment? It's just growing. But it got so far ahead, and I wasn't in business, so I didn't know what to do with it. I kind of believe that I got guided not to do a charity because it never felt right. Something the old ways weren't working, so I never did. And I kept on doing it. But like you said, that circular thing, it was almost like every time I got in my head and I thought, why aren't things moving? I was placed, I say, back in normality, like an everyday job, back in fitness or construction. And in my head, the reality, I was like, where's my breakthrough? Why isn't it doing it? But now I tell people, sometimes you just need to do that step side in this, like you say, there, circular, which makes sense to come back in. So your head's in that clarity. And what I've learned nowadays, I might be wrong, I might be right. I'm just always open. And I think, is it the person that we're becoming that the rest of it is actually irrelevant? You get to a place where you're like, it's amazing, I'm helping people, but the person that I'm evolving into far surpasses any external stuff. And I always say, the day that you pass and you meet God at the pearly white gates, imagine if you listen to everybody and not explode it. And God says, Glenn, tell me what you've learned. And you go, well, nothing, because I was told not to question, not to do anything. But then imagine everything that you're doing and talking to people like yourself and gaining your gifts. And then God's like, what did you learn, Glenn? And well, I learned this and this and that and that and that. Like that excites me, that kind of stuff. So again, from your point of view, is it the person that you're becoming through all of this, that everything else is not irrelevant, but it's just stuff that you're helping other people with, but you're becoming in tune with your spirit?
It's funny because I'm getting this strong feeling as you're talking. So it's not it's a play on words.
Right.
And I'm just being shown to say it to you.
Okay.
So it's not who we're becoming, it's who we already are.
Right.
Okay, so we're becoming who we already are. We're stepping into, you know that thing where the smaller particle you go into, the more powerful it is.
Yep.
So that's when we go into that part of ourselves. So the deeper we go into ourselves, the more powerful we are.
Mm,
And the other thing is each step that we take, and sometimes it feels like backwards, um, those are to prepare us for that next phase that we're going through. We can't rush through our phases. They happen for a reason. I'll give you an example. So when I quit my job, I found this ad on an online how to have an online business. So I joined it. They're in the UK, and they were doing a talk in Australia before COVID. And so there was a bunch of people there. They were teaching them things, and all of a sudden, I hear you are going to be a coach for them, for their customers. And I thought, that's not what I want to be. I want to be this healer, you know? And then, like within that month, I was told, you need to take a coaching certification course. And I thought, no, I don't want to. Like, that's not, I have my skills in healing and I just want to do that, right? And then again, you need to take a coaching certification course. And I remembered my vow I made, which was, I will do whatever I'm being told. And I was told that one of the owners would ask me for a coffee later that year. So come August, and I took the coaching certification course. Come August, he feels some kind of huge energy come from me, which people feel when I was adding my input during a call. And I was told that I needed to speak. So I did, and I could feel the nerves inside of me, and I did. And then all of a sudden, I saw this energy go into him, and he went like this. He went like that. And then he said, Genevieve, you're near Toronto, right? We need to have a coffee. And then a month later, he asked me to work for them. And so I ended up learning a lot about helping people with online businesses. And what I didn't realize was all the people that come to me now, who discover their purpose, who develop their spirituality and all that, they start asking these questions.
mm,
And I have learned coaching methods that these people need that I wouldn't have known
yeah.
that I need to utilize that for people. So it felt like going backwards, but it actually also supported me financially to write my book and to get myself out there, finish my website, the updated one, and do all the things that I needed to do to
Mm,
get to the point where I am now. So sometimes it does feel like that, but if we can stay connected in the way that I'm recommending,
yeah.
you're going to be amazed because when that miracle happened, where he asked me, like there were, I don't know how many people on the call, 60 or something like that. I was just like, okay, all right.
I just love the aspect of you going, but I don't want to do that because I've had those conversations before and I was like, no, I didn't sign up to go backwards, and that's what I thought it was. But then afterwards, in retrospect, you kind of go, I needed that to learn that to get to that step. So yeah, I love that, and I think anyone listening can probably appreciate that because that's why I love these conversations. It's past any surface level and go, no, this is the reality. So where I want to take it now, obviously, and only if you feel comfortable, is if you have got something that's pressing that wants to be said out there, and again, totally respect if there is nothing. Up to yourself.
So you're referring to channeling, right?
Yes, sorry. I should explain that on there.
So, yeah. So the one thing about channeling, and I'll kind of prelude it to that. Prelude is the beginning, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what I'll say about that is that my husband went to martial arts before,
Mm.
and this was pre-COVID. And there was this older guy there. He's now, I think he's going to be 81 now. And he says to me, hi there, can you channel? Have you heard of channeling? And I thought, oh, I swore inside my head. And I thought, oh no, because I knew that that wasn't him talking, that was the universe talking
Mm.
through me. And so what happened after that was he contacted me and he emailed me and he started bugging me about this. Do you channel? And so then I came out and told him that I was doing this automatic writing with all these ascended masters and so forth. And so then he got me to channel. He got me to channel. And I didn't want to do it. Now, I got to share this story, okay? So I started to channel and he realized I don't need any help because he helps people to learn how to channel.
Mm.
So he said, you need no. He said, you should go on a podcast. And I thought, oh my God, like now you want me to come out? Like really come out? And he said, yeah, I'll email you a person I recommend. So he emailed me Kevin Moore. Do you know Kevin Moore? Have you ever heard of him? So he had a show called The Channeling Connection, something like that. And he's from the UK and he lived in the States. And he was doing quite well with his show. And so Peter, the the guy that I'm talking about, he emails me and he copies Kevin, but he said he accidentally copied him. He didn't even realize he had copied him. And so he recommended me to contact Kevin. And I looked at Kevin's YouTube channel that he had referenced, and it was his old channel, and
Mm.
there was nothing there. So I didn't contact him. And then Kevin contacted me. And what happened was I went on his show and he was amazing. He was really good. And what happened from there was Alex saw that show, Alex Ferrari,
Yeah,
and he reached out to me from that show because of that show.
yeah,
And so that's how these things happened was that I was supposed to come out as this channeler. Even when I wrote my book,
yeah.
I did not want to talk about these beings coming through. I just wanted to share the wisdom. And so I can channel, I can see who's going to come forth and just give a little message for you, for everyone. And what topic would you like to, what kind of,
I just think it's probably alluding to kind of imperfectly perfect and this mission of, I suppose, why we're all looking at external validation and perfection when the imperfections are what make us who we are and how we can go into the world. And like you said there, it takes sharing your story for one person to hear it, for an opportunity to come forth.
okay, so it's Saint Germain. I don't know if you've heard of him. So he's an ascended master, and he often comes with, when people connect with him, they often see that purple, like in that, if your book kind of looks purple in the background. And,
Others
you
be
can,
following me around everywhere, by the way, purple. It's
okay.
running theme like Prince. Purple came through a reading once and purple, so
So he's all about this violet flame of transmutation, and he really focuses on joy. But he's also known as like an alchemical wizard. So really helping you to shift who you are as a being. And he's a very kind of happy, joyous person. So I'll just have him come in to say a message on being imperfectly perfect. And I'm conscious when I do it. So no one's taking me over. I'm just literally translating the information I
Hmm.
experience. And I experience it through words, through colors, through feelings, and all that. And I'm just translating it. And sometimes I like to show you his character because I sense his character. So
Hmm.
it's not him doing it, it's me showing you his character because I see it or feel it. Okay. Welcome, beloved children of the light. You are here on this precious journey of life, and I know that it can be very difficult for so many of you to come across those feelings of imperfection and always striving to reach the height of perfection, always wishing that you could be more than you're not. And so, may I recommend to you to realize that you already are this moreness inside of you. And when you can let go of the feeling that you're not enough and understand that you are perfectly you in the way that you are meant to be, that you are meant to be on this journey. As you know, you experience hardships in life. What happens as a result of those hardships when years go by? You realize that there's so much joy in your life as a result because you have had that experience. You have an understanding. You have a compassion towards others. You're able to help others in ways you wouldn't have been able to before because you had that experience. If you consider this, that sometimes you are ordained to experience certain things because little did you know that you were going to be on this mission to make great strides in your life for others. Sometimes you are maybe not meant to make that kind of mission, but know this that you are always experiencing the perfect you at the perfect time. And so the concept of imperfection is actually an illusion because you already are perfect. And so if you can let go of the idea that you need to be something that you are not, know that you are already the most beautiful, precious pearl in my eyes.
Wow. Beautiful.
So I'm blinking a lot. It's a very high frequency.
Mm,
And now I feel like lightheaded because I didn't think about grounding and you know. So that's he's a very, very beautiful being. He's very joyous. And he really helps you to see the lightheartedness in things
yeah.
and to understand that every moment is perfect. And we have this thing where we always want to punish ourselves because we're not where we want to be.
Yeah. Would that be the same in terms of with social media and the way things are moving so much and now AI and we're not seeing what's real and what's not real? How, in your experience, or if you've channeled and you've had similar messages like this, how can we not intentionally remove ourselves from it, but AI is seeing an additional mask on top of already filtered work. And what we're seeing now is we don't know what's true authenticity and what's made up. So how can we actually revert? Because I believe we need to go back to basics in terms of communication, but the world is moving.
We do. And I actually have a concern. And I hear this a lot of a concern with people who are older. And I don't hear it so much who people are in their 20s or, I'm not hearing it so much. And my concern is for them because I was talking to someone the other day. I said, have you noticed this, that older people are saying this, they're so concerned, but what happens when we go? We move on, we die.
Mm,
And how are the rest of the people going to shift? Because you remember when you're younger and you're saying, mom, your mom or your dad, oh, you guys are so silly. Like,
yeah,
you're finding this new technology so awkward and you're kind of laughing at them. And and so that's kind of how I see them seeing older people.
yep,
It's like, come on, like just get on with technology. Like, how would your kids be with you eventually, And so I actually have a high concern about AI and about what they're doing because people are completely losing touch
yep,
with that spiritual side with them. They're losing touch with the power that exists. They don't understand because they haven't experienced it
mm,
that there's an intelligence in this higher force field that you can access. You can access, I mean, that's where Einstein got his stuff. AI is not going to give you new creations. Maybe it will, but that I'm not aware of at this moment. But new stuff comes through by you being in touch with that. And so I think the thing is, what would make someone not want to do it? I would think it would be complacency. It would be just feeling like, why do I need to? So the thirst is missing, the desire is missing. And one thing that, oh yeah, I was talking to someone. One thing that you cannot deny is when you take a course like Reiki.
mm,
Reiki is literally just God flowing through you. That's it. And so what happens is when you practice Reiki, you're giving it on yourself, eventually you start to feel this heat coming out of your hands. You might not feel it right away, but you start to feel it and then you feel love. Like this energy has love.
mm,
And then next thing you know, you realize, wow, like I'm getting this guidance somehow. And when you have that, you start to develop a thirst again.
mm,
So you have this desire, and I think what is most important to teach people to move in this avenue is to kind of not talk about like the dangers of AI and how that's not going to help them, because they're not going to be convinced
yeah,
because they're not having the desire for creating. So the desire, because their innate desires being a creator. And if they've suppressed that and kept busy with stressors in the world,
Mhm.
then they're going to forget that.
Yeah.
And, that leads to mental health issues for sure.
Yeah. Big one in terms of that. And then I suppose one question that I just wanted to ask without a question, if there's someone you feel the energy as, is there anything coming through that you just need to say to the audience, that there's a message that just to give? Or does it have to be a specific, or because I want to be really respectful and just say, look, if someone sat there and saying, Genevieve, I want to say this, I'm like, you just come through and just give the audience what you need.
Yeah, sure. We'll see what happens. I'll see who um I'll see who comes here for you. So it's Kuan Yin. Blessed children of the light. Yes, we do like to approach you in this way. Because how do you approach your own children? You see them as blessed souls. And so we say this to you because we see you as blessed souls. Some of you may not realize that we are all here for you, that we are always communicating with you, that we are always sending love to you, that there's a benevolence beyond what you can see, that there is this expansion of the universe, that we are always bringing forth these beautiful pearls of wisdom your way. And if you but just understand that there is this grace that you can experience, then let that be so. Try not to be so hard on yourselves, because I know every human being, regardless of who they are, where they come from, they have this inclination to be hard on themselves. So, what if you could take this very moment in time and let go of the worries of the tomorrow or of the past and be in this now moment? Let yourself experience the wisdom that comes in being in the now. Perhaps you have had challenges in your life. Perhaps you're going through one now. What best thing can you do? Take some time out for yourself. Nurture yourself. Do those things that help you to feel good, because that's what matters the most. You want to be able to take yourself to the next best place in your life. And when you can take time for you and make yourself matter too, then your world will be a better place. Then you will start to have ease in your life. Then you will enjoy the next phase of your life. Then you will have hope in your life. And you will start wanting to explore new ways of being. You will start inviting back the desire to create again. And so you go up this lovely ladder to experience this greatness that you are, to realize that we are in heaven when we see you all living here on this earth. We experience your glory no matter how much you are experiencing your own situations in life. You see, we see the glory that exists within you. We don't see the illusions that you are experiencing. That is not to say that those illusions aren't painful. We do care for you when you go through those things. And so we are here to support you on this plane, this plane that you are on, to know that life can get better, life can get stronger, and you can wish yourself miracles upon miracles. Just know that you are never alone on this journey of yours.
Wow, it's kind of ironic when you're saying that, because like I said, I can see colors around you and then it's brighter when you're talking or channeling or something, and it's just now went from like white to like yellow, kind of like bright around. So
Fascinating.
yeah, I don't know why I see stuff like that, but there we go. So tell me, before we do go, thank you for channeling and bringing through. Thank you to the Ascended Masters. Tell us about your program and a little bit about your book and where people can find them.
Sure. Yeah. They can find me at liveatransformativelife.com or genevievetaeger.com. And I channeled a book called Heal and Awaken the Goddess Within. And I also am about to publish another book too, which is going to be a bunch of channeled messages that I did way back. But this book, Heal and Awaken the Goddess Within, has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with humanity has suppressed themselves over time. And Humanity has suppressed themselves over time. And so they have forgotten that there's a creator inside of themselves, that they're meant to experience this beautiful creator. But they don't know how to
Mm.
fully go into this part of themselves. And so the teachings came forth to address the anxiety, the fears, the trauma, and move toward connecting to the divine mind, learning how to communicate with your spirit, experiencing your spirit, and understanding it has passions for you, and discovering what those passions are so that you can live a more life, like purpose-filled life, a life that feels more exciting, more joyous, and then overcoming those limitations that you might feel when you realize, whoa, like that's big, that calling that I feel. How
Mm.
can I overcome those limitations so that I don't self-sabotage? And so it's a journey, this program. It takes people through, and that's in my book. People can take themselves through that journey in my book. I've also taken people through that as a group as well.
Wow. Busy, busy, busy. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, and then they can find you on Instagram and your other social handles as well.
Yeah, Instagram, Genevieve.Taeger. So Instagram is big because that's where I like to hang out. Facebook is not really, I don't really get that many people there. But Instagram, yeah, it's great because I can do different types of videos, different types of teachings on there. And yeah,
Get out. The thing that I love about this conversation is it's just confirming that once you step into that fear and essentially share your story, you can engage with friends who feel a part of what you're going through, opportunities can come through it. And I think everybody that I've met, including myself, that have decided to just say yes and step forward into that, even though it's difficult at times and it's painful and it's scary, it's incredible things, and it takes one person to ultimately change your life, or like those are those miracles. So from yourself, without channeling, what would you like to leave the audience with, Genevieve?
I would say to love yourself. And when I say love yourself, I don't mean that real saying. I mean realize the love that you already are.
Mm.
Because the one thing that I do say to people is you actually can't love yourself. It's like you are love. So when you're water, you're already wet.
Mm.
You can't make yourself more wet. And so if you can realize that you are this love, you are this immensity of love. You can't make yourself more love. You are it. You are the most expansive love possible. You just need to get in touch with that again and realize it. And when you do, it does not deny you. It denies you not, is what I just heard.
Love it. Love it. Well, guys, I'm going to put up all the links where you can find this incredible lady. Make sure you go and check it out. I'll also put the link up to a couple of the podcasts because there's more channeling and what messages you've got to say on there, Genevieve. But I just want to say, on behalf of myself and the campaign and the work that I do and the people that you're going to help and heal, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. It's an honor, honestly, real honor to be with you.
You are welcome. And guys, just remember, please keep having the hard conversations because it is the hard conversations that do save lives.